Welcome to Mainland, your local regional television station. I'm Graham O'Brien, and some of the stories coming up in today's news: Union in town for job loss talks, Hone to take a break, we talk to mental health services, should people pay for rescues, and more. It's been national headlines, and the bull being put down at the weekend's Richmond Park Rodeo is now drawing more support in the ongoing calls for the event to come to an end. Animal welfare groups SAFE and the SPCA have been the face of the call for the nationwide ban. The organisers of the local rodeo event said that, though they have their right to their views, it is unlikely to have an effect on the future of the event. Chrissy Small went to talk to Donna Wazell, manager of the SPCA, here in Nelson, to discuss the position on what happened at the Richmond Rodeo.
Donna, we've just had the rodeo here in Nelson, and it's sadly there's always a lot of controversy around rodeo and the fact that animals are involved, of course. But we've just had a bull that's broken its leg in this weekend's rodeo. What's the stance of SPCA on that kind of treatment?
The SPCA has taken a stand against rodeos, and they do have a petition running at the moment against rodeo. So if people would like to sign that, then that's where the SPCA is heading on this one. I can't comment on the actual event because I wasn't there. I believe it's online, but I haven't looked at it as yet. But yeah, obviously using animals in this kind of sport is deemed to be inhumane. So yeah, the SPCA is definitely trying to make a stance on banning them.
Another 60 jobs are likely to go from Sealords due to commercial pressures from cheaper offshore production of competing products if a planned proposal goes ahead. I spoke with Chaz Mueller, Industry Coordinator of the newly formed E2 Union, which is a merger of the Engineering, Printing, Manufacturing Union and Service and Food Workers Union, while he was in Nelson for talks with Sealord. Chaz, there's a proposal that we're going to lose 60 jobs from Sealords. What's the union's perspective on this?
Well, the problem with this, it's an industry issue. It's not the jobs are going in Sealord, it's why they're going. And the problem is that some raw fish, some raw product, hoki, has been supplied to the Chinese who are able to process that product at cheaper, so that when customers look in the supermarket, they see two boxes of fish product, both purporting to be New Zealand hoki from New Zealand waters. One's made by the Chinese cheaply, and the other's by Sealord, and it's more expensive, and they can't compete.
Yeah. Well, that's a huge problem. So we're basically fishing our waters for our fish and then exporting it as whole fish.
Yeah. The problem is. We believe, the union believes, that it's not the quota holders like the fishing companies that own the fish. It is actually New Zealanders that own the fish. And we believe that all New Zealand fish that are harvested in New Zealand waters, which is the 5th biggest exclusive zone in the world, with arguably some of the best fish, all those fish should be harvested by New Zealand workers and subject to value-added processing either at land or at sea by New Zealand workers. Not one fish should be subject to value-added processing in China.
And what do you mean actually by value-added fish?
Well, that is when the fish is supplied raw and it's filleted and turned into a crumbed product like creamy was here in New Zealand, or still is here in New Zealand, those fish bites. That is value-added processing.
Okay, so you're saying that should all be done here?
New Zealand fish should supply jobs for New Zealand workers. That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, you can't argue with that, can you? I mean, it's putting jobs where we need jobs.
Yes, if we don't do that, we will just be a commodity-based economy where we supply raw product in the same way that we actually chop down trees, send them to China to be turned into roofing trusts to import back in to New Zealand to put on houses in the Christchurch rebuild. Nonsense. Yeah. Should be jobs for New Zealanders.
So the union's going in and doing some negotiation about these proposed cuts?
We are looking at supporting the workers in it's a proposal at this time. Yeah. The company's engaged with us in a consultation process. We will discuss with our members tomorrow about various options that they would like to table, and we'll go from there.
Yes, sir. Jez, thanks very much for your comments, and good luck on behalf of the workers.
Thank you so much.
Cheers. Mainland contacted Sealord's Public Affairs and Communications Manager, Frederica Walls. However, as this decision is still in the consultation stage, she was unable to give any further comment from the recent press release. With some of the stresses in life and some of the challenges that it can create for people, cracks can appear which can cause a few in our community to seek a permanent way out. Through taking their own life, they leave behind others who are left devastated. Suicide figures have been alarming in our country, however in the recent past seem to be heading into decline locally, with figures hitting 13 suicides in the year ending June 2014, a decrease from 2013 figures of 17 and 2012 of 24. However, nationally stats show that the rates have increased to 564 for the year 2014 to 15, being the highest level since records began. Chrissy Small spoke to the unit manager of the mobile community team dealing at the coalface of mental health support in Nelson, John Allen.
The majority of people that take their lives are male.
Okay. Right. What are the triggers?
Well, looking back through cases, it's clear that mental illness is probably what we would consider the main trigger to people taking their lives. But of course, that doesn't really answer the question as to, how do people get depressed? What is it that turns their life upside down and brings them to that state where they are, depression has hit them. So things that cause people to depression, of course, are genetics. There's a family predisposition for depression, but life stresses and difficulties are also a major factor. Things like job loss, debt, coming in trouble with the law,
Relationship breakups.
Very commonly today it's relationship difficulties. I guess the change in relationship to what men do and what they used to do, and how relationships have affected that. And I think these are kind of times of great change, and I think adapting to those changes can be, very difficult. And this is why in suicide prevention work we talk about building resilience in communities. Mm-hmm. How do people cope with the inevitable difficulties of life?
Right. Now, John, we get the odd, person who cries wolf, I'm going to kill myself, that sort of thing. Should people take those claims seriously?
I think certainly they should, particularly if it's a new kind of behaviour. There are people who cry wolf and they do that, repeatedly over a period of time, and that's a different client group, I suppose. But if someone is talking about taking their life, then I think that should always be taken seriously in the first instance, and people should stay with that person, look after them, talk to them some more about that, and see where's the best service to guide them towards. And I think that's a little bit about taking personal responsibility for what you know.
Right.
If you know someone's talking this stuff, it's not the time to say, okay, mate, you'll be right. It's not the time to adopt a classic Kiwi attitude. It's the time to just check it out still further, see how imminent, see what they were thinking,
right,
and see what the best services for them would be.
You can't be there with that person 24/7. What is the next step?
Well, I think the next step would be to talk to your first point of contact within the health system. So you've got the person's GP possibly, a person from the church maybe, or if it seems really imminent and urgent, maybe calling up mental health services.
Right.
So it just depends a little bit on how kind of risky and acute it is at this point in time, and it's sometimes it's a lot easier to find out than I think the Joe public might think. Basically, if you ask somebody, they say I'm feeling suicidal, you can talk to them about it and get in it and say, well, what should we do about this together?
Because suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Yes, that's right.
So
it's heartbreaking in that regard when you see the opportunities for people to come right and to solve their problems and to resolve depression. People who are suicidal feel incredibly disconnected and isolated, but what you notice in a completed suicide is actually there's a whole, community of people around them who are actually devastated by this loss. And I think it's something that they should hold on to, the fact that they are a lot more connected than they feel. And for families and friends that are bereaved by suicide, there's a kind of a two-step process for them generally. The first instance would be we would get support from victim support. So victim support are informed immediately following the suspected suicide of a person, or in fact any sudden death or traumatic incidents, and they are alerted by the police generally. Right. The police are involved in these situations, and they would send a person around to support the person, the family, see who's affected, see what further services they need, if any.
Okay.
And a few months down the track, we have a thing called the WAVES program, which is a group counselling service for people bereaved by suicide.
Right.
Supporting Families is a nationwide organisation. It's very strong locally, and it's their full title is Supporting Families in Mental Illness. So it's actually for families who a member of the family experiences mental illness. They'll provide support, kind of education, and a sense of shared journey, I think, which is very important for people. Families got to realise that they're not alone in this. This is a thing that I think a lot about partnership when I think about solutions to mental health issues in the community. I think forming partnerships with the right agencies is vital, really. We're kind of at crisis team like at the end of the line, and what we want to do is get help, support and services to people who are feeling the early stages of distress, who've got one or two problems that need help with, rather than they've got a whole kitty full of problems and it seems very, very difficult then. We want to get people early in the community getting supports in the community, and SF are part of that.
A search and rescue operation in the Cobb Valley has found the 30-year-old man Tuesday morning after being reported missing on Monday evening. He had set off on a walk to the Cobb Dam about 8:30 a.m. on Monday with two others. The man had decided to take an alternate route out of the area, leaving his companions, not realising that it was significantly more challenging and would have been difficult for experienced trampers. He was reported missing when he failed to meet up with the others about 6:30 p.m. on Monday. A helicopter flew over the area that evening but failed to find any trace of the man. Ground search teams, including a specialist cave rescue team, entered the area shortly before 6 a.m. today, and he was located injured at 7:30 a.m. The terrain in the area has prevented a ground recovery, and arrangements were then being made to winch the man out by helicopter, which headed to the scene around 9 a.m. Tuesday morning, delivering the man to Nelson Hospital around lunchtime. Search Coordinator Constable Dave Cogger said the man was not equipped for staying overnight and did not appear to have any tramping experience. Constable Cogger said the group had broken one of the golden rules of tramping by allowing the party to separate. Search and rescues in our region are high, and we asked people in Nelson if those rescued should be charged the full costs of the rescue.
Yeah, I think so. We've been out, we actually were just in the Richmond Ranges, and there was one rescue, but I think that the cost involved, depending on where that money comes from, it's something that you guys should be able to keep within the country, so yeah, I don't know.
And any thoughts on how we could recoup that cost, like maybe charging people as they come in or through your hut passes or something like that?
Yeah, if it was ingrained in the hut passes, that would actually be a wonderful idea. Yeah, because hut passes, you get an annual hut pass for $100, which is extremely affordable. So yeah, that is a really great idea.
I'll have to think about that one. Sometimes it's the right thing and sometimes it's the wrong thing, so
Yeah.
I'd have to think about that.
And if we were, how do you think we might be able to do that? I mean, we already pay, the locals already pay through their taxes. How about...
People should have insurance.
Yep.
Should have insurance, as simple as that. Especially, if you're going hiking or things like that, you should have some sort of insurance or some sort of signal thing that you can send off so they don't waste time looking for you.
Yeah, you think we should have a mandatory insurance for people coming into the country?
Yep, I definitely do.
Police are seeking information from the public in relation to an incident in High Street, Motueka, about 10:20 p.m. on Sunday the 24th of January, in which a 53-year-old man sustained chest and head injuries. The man is currently in a stable condition in the intensive care unit at Wellington Hospital. Police are seeking information from anyone who was in the area between Woodlands Ave and Low Street after 10 p.m. and saw anything that may be related to this incident. Police are also interested in information about the movements of a blue Subaru Legacy station wagon prior to that time. Anyone with information that may be relevant to this investigation should contact Nelson Police. Local street personality, human rights protester and horseless horseman Honi Maheki, otherwise known as Lewis Stanton, may not be outside his usual farmer's spot in Nelson Main Street for too much longer. I went to find out why. Honi, we hear that we have the next instalment in the continuation saga of the non-payment of fines. Can you tell us what's going on next?
Yeah, g'day. Yeah, right. Basically, because of what happened back in 2011 and to do with the Nelson City Council that violated my basic human rights, and basically with all the continuation that's been going on, it's now come back to that part where, because I don't pay the fines, I get the community service. I refuse to do the community service, so now they are looking at putting me back into prison, which doesn't actually solve the problem that the system created in the very first place. And it's time for things like the judges to actually take some notice of what's actually going on. As long as they live in denial, then they're not doing the community any service at all. When they put me in prison, to what purpose is it going to be to the community? Because at the end of the day, when I get back out, nothing will have changed. I'll still be being forced to live on the street because of the actions of the Nelson City Council. The problem will never be solved until such time as the council is prepared to solve the problem, and you solve the problem. And I've been telling the judge that all the time, but they're only bricks.
Every time that you be put back in jail, is that actually taking money off the fines, or is that just a punishment for the community service?
Yes, it does, but the thing is, it should never have happened in the very first place. So what purpose does it actually serve? You see, those fines are simply invented debit and credit, invented by the system to cover their own arse.
What is the cost of sending Lewis Stanton to jail? Looking at the figures, a year in custody per inmate costs taxpayers $91,000. So for Honi, the cost for a 3-month stay will cost the taxpayers $22,750, a sum more than many low-paid in Nelson could hope to earn in a year. Is that money well spent? After the break, we'll bring you the latest weather update and some events and happenings coming up from around the region.
Why would you want to pay as much as $1,000 for a single bed mattress when you can buy a high quality locally made mattress like this for as little as $220? And a queen size mattress could cost you in excess of $3,000, but at Nelson Beds you could have a mattress like this as low as $425. So why would you go out and spend a fortune on your child's bedroom when you can come to Nelson Beds and buy a complete single mattress and base set, a 7-drawer Scotch chest, a headboard and a 3-drawer bedside cabinet for as little as $979? So call and discuss our custom manufacturing options and local after sales service at Nelson Beds, Nelson's only bedding manufacturer.
Welcome to Smugglers Pub and Cafe, open 7 days a week with free parking all day. Our lunch menus have that old-fashioned flavour where we treat you like treasure with the food you'll savour.
We cater for children, grannies and granddads too, with special rates and privileges given to the elderly lunchtime crew. Our staff are friendly and kind and want to see you all come back time after time.
Daytime or evening, it doesn't matter. Give us a call on 546 4084 and we'll be happy to spoil ya.
We're the team at JCar, right here in Nelson, 120 Hardy Street. Our shop is full of electronic items,
including security alarm systems, Electronic components.
Solar and power.
Electronics, toys.
Sound systems, cables, and much, much more. Jacob.
120 Hardy Street, Nelson.
World War I was a defining period in our history, impacting greatly on the lives of people from the Nelson province. Memories of the First World War is an exhibition which will be displayed in a number of regional venues and is currently on at the Nelson Provincial Museum.
In an outdoor youth concert, Tahuna Rocks at Tahuna Youth Park, Bisley Walk, Tahuna Beach. On Saturday the 30th of January from 5 to 9 p.m. This is a free event. On behalf of myself and my esteemed colleagues here at Mainland Television News, thank you for joining us, and we'll bring you the latest news and events from around the region again tomorrow.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.